now. Okay, and if I can, just to start off, it's a warm welcome to David Fisher. David is the man probably with one of the best titles in the industry as the commercial manager for food, drink and hospitality, which is not bad if you can get all three into your title, I reckon. And actually this year marks 25 years since we had the agreement signed between our respective organisations for the work that goes on behind the scenes as the FEA providing the steering committee for the hospitality exhibitions that are now run by Montgomery Group. And tied into that agreement is the rebate that you as members receive against your space costs for exhibiting at the HRC and Professional Kitchen Show exhibitions. Our role, and Lawrence, who's on the call today, is the chair of our exhibition liaison group. Our role is really to add value where we can to the relationship that we have with Montgomery Group as the organisers. Many of you will know in the past we've run trend trails, innovation zones, and on the build towards next year, the Ask the Experts theme is what we'll be running through, and you may already have seen the webinars that we've been conducting on that, and the focal point is the work that Adam Lawrence, our marketing manager, is working on towards the delivery on site next year. So there'll be more to come on that, and we'll keep you posted on that. Sarah Jane won't let me finish without announcing the fact that if you want to get your rebate, you've got to make sure your subscriptions are fully paid up. So if any subscriptions are outstanding, please do get those in. And what we're about to hear from David will be the backdrop of what is building to be a very successful event next year. The first and biggest major event that we'll see in the industry as we come out of COVID. We're working collaboratively with David and the team to put equipment very much at the forefront of the visitor's mind, and to integrate that message in with all of the content that's going to be delivered through what is going to be a very exciting show, in that it's bringing together equipment, food and drink together under one umbrella for 3 days of what will be, I'm sure, an exceptional exhibition. So without any further points to add, David, if I can hand over to you, and David's got about a 30-minute presentation, and then we'll take questions and answers at the end, either directly from you or please post them through the chat function. So David, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you everybody for kind of logging on today. I think I saw quite a lot of you last week at the Catering Insight Awards. I think we're a lot worse for wear last time I saw you all, so I'm glad to see so many faces here and for listening to me waffle for 30 minutes, as Keith said. I have put together a presentation, and I'm just trying to cover as much and as many bases as possible. It is a bit of a scattergun approach, so if there's anything that you're not sure about, there are no stupid questions, so just jump in, because I'm trying to do some things here like explaining things like our audience extension and some of the more digital aspects that we're now offering, and it's not immediately obvious to half the people on my team who are around the same age as me, let alone anybody else. So I'm just going to share my screen now, and somebody could be so kind as to give me a wave just to let me know that that's coming through for you guys. Cool. So let's open. Okay, so from the top, because quite often when I speak to somebody on the equipment side of things in the show, the age-old question, I remember when it used to be called Hotel Olympia, comes up. So let's start that as a jumping off point. What's changed since the days of Hotel Olympia? Well, quite a lot, actually. The first thing we did when I came on board in 2018 with this management team was to look at the average demographic of the buyer that comes to our show. And they are now firmly in the Google generation. And the issue with Hotel Olympia was that it's neither about hotels nor at Olympia, and hadn't been for the best part of 20 years. So the refocus on our 3 core verticals, hoteliers, restaurateurs and contract caterers, which are the areas we have most data in. We have a lot of work that's gone into understanding the route to market, all the different parties involved in speccing and working with catering equipment, from consultants to dealerships, wholesalers, everything in between. So we've done a lot of work there. Data, and we'll come back to this later on in the presentation. Data is so important. I can't emphasize quite enough, really. If you strip out all the bare bones out of what we do every year, what we have is a brand and some data. We don't even own the exhibition halls that we do the event in. So data is very, very important to us. And we've invested a lot in that area. And just to quickly deep delve into that, when I first joined, we had 2 marketing managers and they looked after data, what the brand looked and felt like. Now, the business has a team of 4 data scientists who they just build data, scrape data, enrich data all day, every day. That's literally their job. Segment it for us. Personalization, and this is, I think this is for everybody. Personalization is everything at the moment. There's a reason there are so many kind of small micro events, is that everybody feels there should be something for them specifically in their day job. So personalization is an area that we work on quite extensively. How to personalize the messaging we send out, how we personalize everything. Like, even if I want to do a campaign to get, I don't know, ice cream equipment suppliers, for example, I've now got my database segmented to do that. And we believe in multi-channel. Okay, we're event organizers at our core, but realistically, as long as our customers are meeting their potential customers, if it happens at a show, fantastic. If it happens online, fantastic. If it happens because one of our social media posts, great. As long as you guys are meeting customers, as far as we're concerned, we're doing our job. And our next live event, as Keith kind of touched on there, will be co-located now with the massive IFE, International Food Expo, which has all the big multinational pavilions, touches on all the food and drink trends. We're also partnering with Bob and the guys at the London Fresh Produce Show. It's not an event we own, but we know them very well to answer those needs of chefs that have asked us to put more fresh produce into the show. And finally, a show that's dear to my heart, Pub 22, comes under the fold now. And that's actually where Rhonda and a lot of the management team are today, working with some of our partners and making sure that we get a good representation from on-trade and from that particular segment, which, as I found when I was running that show, is not so easy to infiltrate, but we've got that data and we work extensively to maintain it. So that's what's changed in the last 4 years since we've kind of taken on the mantle here. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. This is looking at kind of the data from our last live event. And if we all remember, this is kind of what happened the week before the world came to a complete standstill. We still pulled a respectable 15,500 visitors out of bed to the show, but it was kind of painful because we had spent 2 years doing all of this data build and acquisition and cleansing and trying to get everybody to this event. And usually we'd look to have another 5,000 or so visitors, but we still pulled a respectable 15,000 out of bed, which is sort of nearly another 4 or 5 more than our closest competitor. So this will be available in a slide after, I'll send around after this presentation. The biggest thing you may have seen us pushing out there, or not, but this is what we've been working on. We had decided, this was actually prior to the pandemic, we definitely wanted to do something on the digital side of things. Originally, we did want to do a digital event. That was what we were planning on, but the pandemic, everybody went out there shouting about digital events, and we thought, well, let's watch somebody else burn and try and do this first before we do it, and just be fast followers. And what we realized quickly was actually virtual events are bloody horrible, because nobody realistically wants to sit at their laptop for 8 hours or 6 hours or even 4 hours. And there's a short burn time. Value for money is very difficult. We wanted something that's set up and runs year round. It's not necessarily a news portal. It's more a place where we can discuss all of the latest topics, and they can be clickable and viewable on demand. And it's a way of connecting our suppliers. So what is it? It's a way for us to connect with our visitors, your customers, year round online. So we're not just prodding them once a year and shouting, come to an event at them. Why? Because the world is changing. Everybody needs information as and when they need it. It's more connected than ever. It allows us to personalize content, and it also allows us to develop a greater granularity and understanding of our potential show visitors. So it's not always the case that what somebody tells you they are as a job function necessarily, that doesn't always reflect in what they actually do or what they're interested in day to day. And the best marketers market to a habit or an activity rather than what somebody tells you they are. And the best way I can put this is that the most simple way is there's a reason they put lemons, limes and pancake mix together when you go around Shrove Tuesday in the supermarket, because they know these items are going to be purchased together. So they're marketing to a habit there rather than just the regular shopper. We're running webinars at the moment, white papers around more technical subjects, virtual showrooms for our suppliers. There is the ability to do product launches. So if you're bringing anything new to the market, we can do everything from solus e-shots to multi-channel across all of our social platforms. Next year, we're going to be moving more into podcasts because the world is changing again. And now people haven't got necessarily the free time to sit around and watch webinars every day. Podcasts are far more easily consumed on the go. A chef could listen to a podcast whilst he's doing his prep for the day. People can listen to them in their cars when they're on the train. So that is an area we're keen to move into in the next sort of 12 months or so. That's what myself and Rhonda are working on. And so what does it mean for you? Well, it just means that we can now segment and target more of our data any time of the year. So if you're running a campaign, whether it be to hospitals, to schools, to grab and go or food to go or fresh to go as rationale segment, we can run campaigns to specific job titles, localities. I've just done a campaign with Flowgas, for example, who are looking for rural sites who may not be on the gas grid around certain postcodes as it approaches winter. So we can really segment our data down and offer you more in terms of what you're looking to do away from the event online. This is designed to run symbiotically with our live event. So the idea is the best practice for this is to use this to warm up potential leads so that when you meet them, they have brand exposure to who you are and what you do. And that way the conversation is a bit more advanced by the time you get to meet them face to face. Data, as I mentioned, data is everything. And according to Statista, 64.2 zettabytes of data were collected between 2010 and 2020. A zettabyte is 1 billion gigabytes. So just put that into context, that's a lot of data. And why is that important? And it's because your customers are expecting you to understand them better than ever. Everybody here has been the recipient of one of those god-awful emails that says, "Dear valued customer," as an opener. And I don't know about you, but that makes me whack the unsubscribe rate so fast, or just take me off your mailing list immediately. We believe that we should be giving you guys good data at our events, granular, punchy data. We believe in quality over quantity. We noticed that there are definitely fewer people in procurement teams. You don't get so many different category buyers across the board anymore. However, conversely, there are more people involved with the total decision making, 6.5 key decision makers behind every key purchasing decision, according to Flume training. So we do this training with Flume. There are averagely 6.5. Two of those decision makers from every major purchasing decision you will never get to meet. There'll be a finance director or a client of the people you're selling to. You'll never get to get two of those decision makers. The 0.5 is usually somebody who you may not think to focus on, but it could even be somebody as simple as an intern who say, "Oh, I've heard of that product before. I've used one. They're not very good." That's just enough to dissuade somebody from a sale. The remaining 4, they're the people we're hoping to get to our event, at least a good chunk of those 4 decision makers. We have over 100,000 contacts. We're adding attributes and behaviors using things like HRC Connects, and it just gives you more opportunities to target and influence potential business. KPIs for most exhibitors are simply, exhibitions are a lead gen exercise, make no bones about it. They have the added advantage that if somebody saw your product online and you know they weren't too sure if it really fit their needs, they may get one of those god-awful bots pop up and say, "Can we help you with something?" But realistically, if you're meeting somebody and you say, "Oh, I've considered this dishwasher, but it's not good for this reason," you then have the opportunity to say, "Ah, but what are you speccing it for?" "Oh, it's for this. That's great. I've got an answer for you over here. There's another product we have." That's not an opportunity really you get online unless you've got a website that's that good. So it is a lead gen exercise, and a lot of event organizers still charge extra for things like badge scanners. So you paid for all of your overheads, you've got your stand, you're ready to go, and you have to pay, what, another 200 quid per badge scanner? We don't think that's right. We believe that you've already paid for the right to come and collect the data at our event. So we've developed our own in-house badge scanner. I think it debuted at the last show and it was a bit rusty around the edges. We're now on about the 14th or 15th version. It scans QR codes. It's very slick. I've used it a couple of months ago at the Independent Hotel show, and it's very, very good. And the data you require from us now is, you know, we ask them more relevant questions. So, for example, we ask our visitors how often they procure, which is a really interesting question, because it may be that they only procure once a year in September. And a lot of our exhibitors would follow up with their data the week after and say, hey, we met you last week. Are you interested in speaking? And they don't get a response. And they're not getting a response because the question should have been, I notice you only procure once a year in September. Is it worth us having a conversation again in August? So it just gives you a lot more information to follow up with them and their day jobs. And we hold on to any data you scan at our show for up to 9 months after the event. This is firstly for your benefit. You know, if your CRM goes bang or you lose your laptop or for whatever reason, you maybe get somebody new into the job role. We had a lot of that over the pandemic. People would either be new into a job position or somebody had unfortunately lost their job. We were able to say, well, look, to start the conversation up, would you like me to send you the badge scans from our last event? So you've got something to start with. And so there's a few reasons behind that. It also allows us, again, to see how people trek and journey through our exhibition and who they visit and which products they're interested in. So again, it adds to that granularity. And then digital's easier to handle than getting solid cards, or, you know, you see those people filling out those paper forms. Visitors hate that. They just do. They tell us it on feedback every year. They don't like to stand there filling out 5 pages of inquiries just to submit an inquiry. If you've got all of their data on digital, you can upload it to your CRM easier, and it's easier to segment and follow up with en masse. So data is at the core of almost everything we're doing now. Audience extension is something we've been able to implement because of all of the data work we've been doing. The easiest way to explain it is, if you've ever been followed around the internet by one of those really, really annoying adverts, say you view some golf clubs, and everywhere you go, you see golf clubs pop up, you know, come back to that website. The depressing fact is that's a PPC campaign, and they are depressingly good at what they do in terms of the amount of people that view them and eventually go on to buy those products. Usually that uses Google's in-house data. What we're doing is now working with a digital agency. And so you could come to us and say, we want chefs within 2 miles, a 2-mile radius of the M25, for example, of which we may have, I don't know, 20,000 lines of data. We then give that data to our digital agency, who, through third-party lookalike data, this is built through them pairing our data up with data that already exists, that's doing similar things to our data online. So say it's visiting our website, then Big Hospitality, then FEJ. It will match that data to other sets of data out there and expand it. So we could only have 20,000 lines of data in-house that match what you're asking for. But with our digital agency, we could build that out to, say, 80,000 contacts. We then set you up with our digital agency to build an advert that will sit on several different platforms out there. And then we'll set up a campaign that leads back to a landing page of your choice. So it could be that we have it land on HRC Connects, or if you've got an inquiry page on your own website, we could lead any clicks back to that inquiry page so you can get the inbound leads from that campaign. And these adverts are placed typically across Facebook's network, which includes places like WhatsApp, Google Ads, which includes things like YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And our digital agency will basically follow this data from our source and from the third-party lookalike data and just have a look and see where it ends up, and they will place adverts accordingly. And that typically starts, we aim to get you about 250,000 impressions there, and that the costs for that start between £8,500 and £10,000, which this is all digital. And it can lead with our show that you can run campaigns with us year round using our data that way. That's the simplest way I can describe how our audience extension works. But if anybody wants to have sort of a one-to-one and sort of really pick our brains and talk to us further, I've tried to simplify it there, but that's kind of what we're doing in that area now. And then how to turn your days into a 3-month campaign. So I've been the other side of the fence, and I've actually exhibited at an exhibition before, and I used to love it because it just gives you an opportunity to kind of get your company out there, and it gives you something natural to talk about, because quite often you'll see people try and shoehorn what they call SEO friendly copy onto their website, you know, sort of, 10 facts about pizza ovens. Okay, great. But this actually gives you a spectacle, something to talk about, something to get excited about, and not just for the 3 days that you're there. You can talk about the build up, everything else. So I'm keen to talk about it here. Before we go there, I just want to explain, this is the bones of what you're buying when you spend money on an exhibition. In essence, I don't want to cover it up, our visitors have a feeling with our show. You know, we try and put on all these rock star chefs and cooking competitions and spectacle and pub areas and you name it, all with the aim of giving the visitors a feeling. They should come to our show, have a good time, enjoy themselves, get some good business ideas, listen to some good speakers, see some cool suppliers like you guys, and then go away thinking, that was a really bloody good day out. Let's do that again next year. You know, we're getting a lot of ideas. When you spend any money with us, in essence, you are buying that feeling. That's what you're buying. So when setting up any campaign, and I do advise, don't just plan for 3 days, plan for all of it. I wanted to start with the stuff, let's call it from November to January, January to March, March to June. Let's start with the stuff you get from the moment you booked an exhibition stand and you're confirmed to exhibit with us. This is the stuff that you can do for free, that doesn't cost you anything extra to begin with. Pre-show, just announce your participation, let your hard in-house data know. Buy an e-shot or get your sales teams talking about it. Are you going to pop down to HRC? Or if I don't get a chance to see you next week, are you going to be popping down to HRC? It sounds obvious, but I'm hearing anecdotally it's becoming even more difficult. Like dealerships or distributors need an excuse not to have your rep in at the moment. It's just another way. Look, if you can't have me into your premises to talk this week, I'm going to be at the show in March. Talk product. Well, let's talk social media, because I think one of the best platforms for our particular audience here, and I think a lot of your guys, FEA members, engage with is LinkedIn. And I think from everything I've been learning in the marketing space for the last couple of years, LinkedIn is probably one of the most misused platforms. Because in essence, LinkedIn is about business, right? But actually, as a social media platform, it's actually about people in business. And I think people often forget the people from in business idea, right? And what by that I mean, you'll notice if somebody says, oh, this is the combi oven 5000 on a post, there'll be 6 likes on it. And if you look at the likes, they're mainly sales reps who are selling that oven. Whereas if somebody says, today you will see Tom, regional sales manager for this person at the Dorchester, who's overseeing the installation of the combi oven 5000 with Airedale, for example. I can't wait to show this baby off at the next hotel, restaurant and catering. And they've tagged all of those places in, the sales rep, the place it's being installed, the next exhibition. What that does is, firstly, it shows you content that involves people and product in business, which people can relate to and click and engage with. But also everything that's tagged, you are then infiltrating their circles of friends and networks on the platform. So by tagging our show, all of the people that follow our show can see the post. By tagging your sales rep, all of his network can see it. By tagging your company, all of the followers to your company can see it. So it's just being smart with how you use, that's just one example on LinkedIn. It's all about being smart with how you use each of the platforms. And then you can look at the hard metrics and the click-throughs and which companies are viewing those particular posts through LinkedIn as well. So where are we? Free media packs. Quite a lot of people do use these, but there's still an awful lot of people that don't. From the moment you sign up, you do have access to our media zone now. We produce banners for you with your logo on them, banners you can put out there on social media. All of these are free, are included in your stand costs. If you want something more specific, talk to us. And Annabelle, who was here a moment ago, she's our digital marketing manager, and she sorts all of that out. So if anybody has specific requests for how they want their banners to look or slogans, we can produce those for you. And then, as I said before, you're buying that visitor you're buying that visitor feeling when you're exhibiting with us. You can leverage our brand as much as you like. Tag us in things. If you tag our social media accounts and things, we will like and share with our networks. You've bought the right to do that. At the show, use the content we're producing, get your marketing guys to get out there, take pictures of your team attending certain content sessions. If you've got equipment that's being used in our show features, you can take pictures of that as well. Use our discussions to shoehorn your products. If you see somebody that's talking about a particular topic, the environment, if you've got products that match environmental issues, say it's a big thing for us this year and we're glad to listen to X, Y, and Z talking about environmental issues. And you've got the right to do that. Film your stand live. People love a live film of your stand or content at the show. I think Kelly Barrell did some fantastic coverage of herself visiting, was it Commercial Kitchen a couple of weeks back. People were really engaged with it. People really like that because that makes them feel a part of it. And it also makes them want to come down and see you more. Don't post all of the organic content you've got here. Hold some back and drip feed it to your audience after the event so you can prolong the burn. And tag people you've spoken to on your stand. Obviously ask them if you can tag them, but if they're happy to be tagged, then tag away on your social media. Post-show, use your on-site data. We're giving you free badge scanners. I've seen Throwback Thursdays used really well, particularly in the food and drink space. Every other Thursday, they talk about what they were talking about previously at the show. You can use our brand for as long or as little as you need to, so you can always tag us. It was fantastic speaking at, seeing people at the last hotel, restaurant and catering, and utilize the organic content you've produced at the show. You can use that on your blogs, on your websites, which can boost backlinks and again, help your SEO and help drive visitors more organically to your pages or your websites post-show. And obviously it wouldn't be a gratuitous sales pitch if I didn't include some of the paid enhancements you can do here. We've got a pre-show newspaper that goes out to 60,000 people in the press. That's finalized in December. We've got banners on HRC Connects, audience extension, we've been over that. You can advertise at show only products and offers, and you can enhance your profile on HRC Connects. So you get more clicks and views. You can get a virtual showroom, and you can also tag your products to the top of categories. So if you want to be known for somebody that's good at fogs, fats, oils and greases, you can tag yourself to the top of that category so that every time a visitor logs onto the platform, you're one of the first suppliers they see. At the show, we've got sponsoring daily native ads. So if you're launching a product at the event, you can say, amongst our content, we'll be saying, oh, today we've heard from these speakers. And within that content, you can say, oh, and don't forget to pop by tomorrow and see X, Y, and Z at stand X, Y, and Z. You can run at show competitions on our social media channels as well. So do get in touch about that. And post-show, you can buy a post-show e-shot campaign that gets sent out to those who have attended our show, or you can do our pre-registered data. So that includes people that registered but perhaps didn't attend, so you've still got that. And again, you can do audience extension with our post-show visitor data too. That's kind of it. I'll leave you there. Some people very kindly said some words here about the event, and I'll be happy to field any questions that people may have here and now. If not, I think my email is widely available, that will be sent around after.
Good. Thank you very much for that, David. And great to hear actually all of what's going on in the background and the developments that have been made there, because yeah, certainly it's the data that underpins the individual walking through the doors of the exhibition and ultimately onto an FEA member stand. So it's good to hear what's developing there. Like to throw the stage open to you all. Please just unmute and say hi and pose any questions that you have to David. Lawrence, I see you unmuted yourself. Do you have a question there?
Just because I do as I'm told, Keith. and you asked me to. I've no questions. I think we're pretty au fait with everything that is going on from a Vulcan perspective. Just really here to offer support to anybody who feels that they need it or want it. Anybody who's got any reservations with regards to exhibiting, obviously, I think the key is, and the key message is that it isn't a 3-day show anymore. There's so much more to it. So no, thank you, David. That was first-class presentation, very informative. I'm not sure you'll squeeze any extra money out of us, but you can try. Just haven't got any. But
we can be as little or as much as you need us to be. I guess that's the key message here. You know, everybody's got different budgets, and you know, I even say I could easily offer up my smallest stand exhibitor, and I'm sure he'll even be able to tell you that I make every penny that he spends with me work bloody hard for him. And I think, you know, these aren't inexpensive things to do, are they? They are expensive. So it's our duty to just try and deliver as much value for money as possible. I've just seen a question here from Julian regarding kind of COVID insurance. Thankfully, at the last event and the event we had this year, we have actually had COVID insurance. So anybody that was booked up, very simply, we've just refunded or said, look, you can either roll your booking with us, or we can give you your money back, or keep a bit of it. And we've been able to do that, which is quite good, because it means I've not had to sour any of my relationships with my clients. We don't have that insurance next year because obviously we've claimed on it more than once now. But you know, we're not in the business of throwing anybody's money away. We're not going to you know, oh well, the show's cancelled, you lost your money. You will definitely get something. We'll either roll it to a future date, or where possible, if you know, people are really struggling and need financial assurance, we'll work with that case by case. Is the answer to that.
David, when do you intend to do a big push on getting people to the show? What's just for those that are maybe wondering about exhibiting, the key to this success is the visitors, isn't it?
It kicks off as of next week. I mean, I've seen the visitor reg this week. We've just been tweaking some of the questions and how they're phrased, and all of the visitor reg is going through our Connects platform as well, just to make sure that again we have what they call connected data, and it all totes up. But it kicks off next week. Our visitor registration goes live next week, and from next week, we've got a couple more webinars that we're running on HRC Connects, our newspaper that gets printed and sent out first thing in the new year. And we do still do a printed piece, because there are some people that, believe it or not, still don't like digital. We haven't forgotten about those. And that's most of the pub universe, by the way, as I found out the hard way. And we still do have a marketing agency that goes and literally hand delivers a lot of those newspapers to freehold pub sites to get them to come along. And yeah, basically, as of next week, the firing gun goes. But we depressingly enough, we get a load of people that register immediately. Then we expect it to lull off over Christmas, although the last time out, I think we still got about 20 or 30 registrations on Christmas Day. So some people must really hate their families. And then in the new year, it just kicks right off. So January onwards, it just builds and builds. But, you know, we've had to turn this show into something a lot cooler than it was. Our big push is going to be getting those rock star chefs, lots of really cool presentations. You've probably seen Michelle Roux Jr. is going to be our chef ambassador next year. And it's no good just having one rock star chef anymore. We want multiple. We want all the big hitters. We want this to be something that you personally would like to attend. And if you're going to get some business out of it, fantastic as well. You know, this is what events are about these days. I think gone are the old boring shell scheme, you know, awkward stiff handshakes and exchanging of cards. We want people to come and have a really bloody good time. So that's how we're going to be marketing it. And everything we're kind of selling to you in terms of audience extension, we're actually using ourselves to make sure that we can knock down those doors and get people that weren't necessarily on anybody's radar to come and visit.
David, if I may, one question's come in relation to the respective layout of the various exhibition elements. What are the traffic flows going to be like? Another point here that's been made is any issues of moving from one element of the A show to another element. Do you want to talk just a bit more about that and help explain how that's going to work, please?
Yeah. So it's a complete walkthrough experience. There are no physical barriers between any of the show areas. You enter in the food and drink part. You know, we're all long in the tooth here that I've been doing events. This is my 13th, 14th year running exhibitions. You put all of the cool stuff at the edges and at the back to make sure you drag visitors through. You don't put any barriers in their way where possible. There are no curtains or anything. You can walk straight through the IFE area, through the the London Fresh Produce Show. Right at the back of the hall, we've got the big live theatre cooking competitions. At the very back edges of the wall, you've got the tap room feature. All of this stuff is designed to pull people and send them in the right direction. And you know, you do inevitably get quiet spots at a show, but again, from looking at the data that we collated at the last one, it's not as different as you would think. Even right on the edges, there's a real menial difference in traffic flow when you actually look at the data and where people have gone throughout a show. So it's really just about making sure your teams are engaging and willing to make eye contact. You know, at the end of the day, it's 3 days where you've effectively given your company a shop window. And I used to work in retail back in my teens and early 20s. And, you know, if I was seen sat down on my phone, my boss would have shot me. So you just have that energy from day one and keep yourself up there. And any traffic that comes past your stand, be opening, engaging with it, is the advice. But yeah, there are no barriers, and we've got all the features in the right areas to make sure people circulate. Is the short answer to that.
Thanks, David. Any other questions, please?
Can I just add some weight to that, David? Part of the remit for going to HRC is not because it's probably the best event that we have in the UK, and luckily we can do it next year. Because you've got IFE next door, that adds serious clout. And I use this example in the Marketing and Revenue Committee. When Gulf Food had food and equipment, it was mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. Lo and behold, 2 or 3 years ago, they split it. It's never been the same. We're now going full circle. You've got HRC and you've got food with chefs, 3 to 4 times the numbers, which is what we want. We want people, you want bums on seats or feet on the ground. Actually, you don't want them sat down, but you want them walking around. Encouragement, diversity, little stands, big stands, doesn't matter what you are. You just need excitement. And if you've got all those people from chefing with equipment, the potential could be really good. So really, if you're not there, you are going to miss out.
Absolutely. And the food and drink dictates what they buy from you. Absolutely, Paul. Like, yeah, whatever trends happen in that food and drink space ultimately decides what they want to buy with you guys. If they want to develop certain products on a certain menu, they're going to need particular pieces of equipment. You know, everything in this country is now on casters because of the way health and safety has gone, and everything, you know, the trends and what the food represents and brings absolutely dictates what they buy equipment wise. So you're bang on. And thank you very much for saying that. You know, that was the intention, pairing these two up.
David, I'd just like to say that I'd sort of very much support both what Lawrence and Paul have said. I know that you and I have had long conversations about, you know, going and not going. And I know we made as a business a commercial decision going back, 4 years ago, that we wouldn't exhibit in the UK, you know, for different reasons. I know that we've you know, I've now gone back on that decision. You know, I think it's very much the right time. I think there is a big drive out there that people want to be doing face-to-face events again. And the main reason for me, you know, signing up again was having that food participation, because I was worried that it was very much an equipment focused, and you know, and I don't mean that in a heavier light equipment side as well, but I think having the food side there I'd like to think will attract a different raft of client base that we're currently not engaged with, and that for me is the biggest opportunity I see with what you've done. So yeah, if you want to use this as a case study to those that may be wavering, I'm sure any of us on this call that have already signed up, be it myself, Paul, Lawrence, or whatever, would certainly happily do that. And you know, if you want, I'll quite happily sit in on a meeting with you, and I'll tell them I'm not a paid individual, but we will have a conversation about our stand costs going forward in future years.
Thanks, Stephen.
I'd like to be privy to that.
I appreciate that. I know, and we really do appreciate you coming back to us. And we've seen a return a lot of the big names this year, and not all of them have been easy to convince. But I think there's a lot of parallels. You know, we're people that have basically taken a show that's 85 years old and dragged it, and are still dragging it, and will continue to drag it forward and make it something that's quite contemporary and useful across the board. So I think a lot of people see parallels with their own businesses and us, and I think that's what's kind of leading the way here. We're not resting on our laurels. We're not doing bog standard event organising, far from it. So I appreciate you rejoining us, and I really appreciate everybody's kind words here.
David, if I may just, and please, if anybody's got a question, please get ready to put it to David. But firstly, David, questions come in. focused very much on the operators in the presentation. What work is being undertaken to look at the other elements of the equipment supply chain, the dealers, consultants, etc.? Can you give us a little bit more information on that, please?
Yeah, so when I said that we're looking at whole route to market, and I think my predecessors, it was very much like an end user show, and anything that happened in the middle was kind of either fingers in their ears or they didn't understand it. I have a kind of a micro focus group where I spend time with dealerships to understand the challenges and, more importantly, just how they work. And I do spend a couple of days every year literally just sat in the office with a dealer and listening to the kind of calls they get and the kind of conversations they have with their customers. So we do qualitative work with that kind of thing. Quantitative work, we are working with Cedarbond still, and we are working with a few of the major groups to make sure that we are going after those and working with the likes of FEJ and our good media friends as well. I don't think you can ever do enough work there, because I think there's a lot of information that goes through dealerships and wholesalers and distribution. And if you don't get the bigger picture and the minute kind of details, then I think you're missing a trick. So that a lot of work does go into that area. Consultants have been a complicated space to infiltrate, but we've now made very good inroads and have a very good working relationship with the likes of Andrew Effington and the Hospitality Network. We're working to see if we can do something with them at our next event. And Rhonda is working with the FCSI over the coming weeks to look at content we can work over with them as well. So we are working in that space, but again, there's more work we want to do. It's something we recognise and something we have budget to spend money on as well. So it's not just pie in the sky. It's something we actively go after. This year will be difficult because we're working on finer margins as everybody else are, but yeah, going forward, that's certainly in our plans.
David, can I suggest you also approach Footprint Media? Very focused on sustainability, economy, and also the SRA, Sustainable Restaurant Association.
So the SRA, we did presentations with at the last event. Yeah, SRA, we had Raymond Blanc opening up our sessions at our last event in 2020. Yeah. I think there are still plans to work with them. Footprint Media, that's a name that rings a bell, actually.
Footprint Media.
Footprint Media.
If you want me to, I can approach him on your behalf if you want. It's Charlie Myers.
Yeah, let me have a look. The name rings a bell, so I'm pretty sure. Yeah, please do. Let's cover.
If you met him, you wouldn't forget him.
All right. Okay, yeah, I'd appreciate that. It rings a bell, but yeah, but the SRA we do actively work with already. Okay. End users is kind of, it's our stronghold. It's what we spend the most money on, really, because
these are focused.
Yeah. Well, but that's what all the data and scraping is about, Rodney, following Custom House and seeing every single site opening and then enriching the data and building it from there. I've never seen anything like it. I've been doing events for 14 years and I've never sat there and watched data built this way. It's always purchased or it's just in-house. I've never seen it harvested. It's brilliant. But yeah, thanks for that, Paul.
Okay, well, there are no further questions in the chat. So this is your last opportunity to pose a question to David, or if you don't want to post it now, I'm sure David will be only too willing to pick up with you offline, so we can do that. So any last questions?
Keith, you said there was going to be a copy of this made. How do we go about accessing that once it's available?
I'll ask Sarah Jane to post it round to all of the primary contacts, and so we can get as wide a spread as possible out of that. Good. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. David, how many FEA members do we have exhibiting now at the show?
Now you're asking.
Okay.
Where were we last time?
We were on 36, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we're way above that now. I say way above that.
That's good.
I think we've eclipsed the 42 mark.
Okay.
Let's have a look. I'll send you some stats around, actually, because I don't want to blag it. Yeah, but we've got a respectable number, and the best thing is it's a lot of people that we haven't necessarily had exhibiting for quite a few years, and there's a good mix. On some of our other smaller shows, we do event balancing, which is where we list every single category at the show and just make sure that we're ticking every box. I don't feel like I need to do that with the equipment guys this year. There's a good mixture of everything. A little light on the light equipment side of things, but certainly all of the big hitters that you would expect to see are there, or thereabouts. So I'm quietly happy with it. But yeah, I'll send you some firm numbers over after this, and you can share that with your membership.
And just talking generally, I know that the number when we had our meeting in September, we were at about 17. So it's more than doubled in the last 6-8 weeks. So
oh yeah, it's
the
hockey
pace of
sticks.
change is different, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And even this month, which is typically usually quite quiet, we've been booking sort of 2 to 3 stands a week. So yeah,
good. Okay.
Guys, I must go, but David, brilliant. Thank you very much.
thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
Cheers.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
See
All
you
the best.
soon.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Cheers.
David. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks guys. Bye.